Hi, my name's Sue and this is Sue Marie P. I love sharing my easy recipes so you can try them at home. And one of my favourite things to do is making bread but out of spelt flour. So today I'm sharing a requested video by Mr. Rex. Hi Mr. Rex, hope you're watching. This is for you. He asked if I could do a spelt bread but braided. I hadn't done one before, so I've been practicing non-stop, and I'll pop some photos up above of some of my trials that I did that tasted great but didn't look that good. So what I realized, that there's a special technique to do the bread so it doesn't split. So if you'd like to watch my journey on how to make a spelt braided bread, come with me and let's see. So first step, we need to have some warm milk. So I've just heated this up before we started videoing, and I've got 200 mils of oat milk. You can do whole milk if you like. I always have oat milk in the house, so I'm using that today. And you can add sugar or honey. So I'm going to pop honey in. So just a tablespoon and a half. So this bread stays fresh for at least 3 days. We were enjoying it toasted even on the 4th day. And it's what's called an enriched dough. So it has got a little bit of sugar or sweetener, eggs, butter, and eggs and butter. So it makes it light and fluffy, like a brioche dough. So then in here we're going to melt 40 grams of unsalted butter. If you've only got salted butter in the house, that's fine. Just don't put any extra salt in. So that should melt in a few minutes. So in this bowl, I've got 450 grams of white spelt flour. You can use a little bit of wholemeal if you want, but I'm just doing it with white spelt today. And in here we do 7 grams of yeast. So I'm just going to measure that on my scales because I love being super accurate with bread making. I usually use the little 7-gram packets of yeast, but I don't have any at the moment. So I'm just going to weigh this to be exactly 7 grams. Yeah, it's usually about 2.5 level teaspoons. So pop that in. And I just like to whisk that in. If you're using what's called, I think it's called activated dry yeast in some countries, you can pop that into the milk mix and let it bubble for about 5 minutes. But mine's a fast action yeast, so I don't really need to do that. So I'm grabbing my KitchenAid bowl because I prefer to use that. But you can do this method with your hands if you've got strong hands. That's pretty good. I'm going to throw all that in. I've still got a little bit of butter there, but that should sort itself out. So I'm going to get that started. So now I've got 2 whole eggs I'm going to add in. So I'm just going to pop them in this jug first. And just whisk them with a fork. And in my saucepan, I've got an extra 50 mils of milk just in case I need it. And now we need to add just a teaspoon of salt. I always like doing that away from the yeast. So once it started kind of mixing. I'm using a different brand of spelt flour today. Because I've been away, I haven't been able to I didn't get my regular delivery. So just bought one locally. So I'm not sure it's actually going to activate or work the same way. So let's have a look. Just pump it up for about 3 minutes. And I've got an extra egg here. I'm going to use that to do an egg wash on the top of the bread. I'm going to sprinkle in just a little bit more flour, just like a spoonful at a time. I just want to make that, it's good to have a hydrated yeast and quite moist, but I want my dough to pull away from the sides. Just going to stop that and check it. I've got about 10 seconds left on my clock. I think it needs 1 more spoonful. So the next step is I'm going to oil my hands. I just prefer olive oil on my hands than flour. I love using this glass bowl so you can see what I'm doing, but I always find it too heavy and too big. So I'm in this quandary of I prefer a lighter bowl. Now I can use a different bowl to pop the dough back in, but I'm just going to reuse this bowl. Okay, I'm going to drizzle some oil back into this bowl, or you can flour it. Grab your dough and then form it into kind of like a ball. We've added a little bit of flour to the outside edge, which is great. Just pop some on top, pop it in the bowl. And we're going to rest this now for at least 60 minutes or an hour until it's doubled in size. And this bowl comes with a lid, so I'm popping the lid on, and there's no windows open, so there's no draft coming through. Or you can pop a cloth on it, damp cloth or plastic wrap. So we'll come back and then we'll do the next step. So it's been an hour and we're back with our dough, and check this out, it's doubled in size. So that's a great result. And let's just do the poke test. We put a little bit of flour on our finger and just poke it in. And if it springs back gently, which my nail's stuck in there, it's doing, so it's ready. I need to get this dough out, and I'm going to pop the floured side on the bench and the sticky side up. Let's grab a little bit more flour on my hands. Fold it over a bit more and just knock some of this air out. So I'm going to rest it for another 5 to 10 minutes, and then we start dividing it and doing the plaiting or the braiding. I'm going to pop my timer on for 10 minutes. So the next step is to divide our dough into 3. So before I divide, I'm just going to roll it again into kind of a long sausage. I'm going to use my scales. I've got a little plate here with some flour on top. I'm going to try and do 3 even. 287, 285, 289. That's pretty good. I think we'll go with that. So then we need to not have too much flour on our bench, but we need to roll them into like little sausages. Just pop them aside. So I just notice this one's got a few air pockets. I'm just flattening those air pockets out. Grab a little bit of the flour. And I'm going to roll it. Oh, I've got my tray here on standby. I've greased it and lined it with paper, and I'm using my really large tray from my oven for about 38 to 40 centimetres long. And I'm not pressing too much on the dough. And if you can get some thin ends, that's fine. But what I like to do, I like to then put that directly onto my tray. And just pop a little bit of flour on the tray. Because then I found it easier. I didn't have to like transfer it all once it's formed. So what I do is I squeeze the end bit together, and then it's just like plaiting hair. If you've ever braided or plaited anyone's hair, so you've got one side and you pop it over the next, and then you take the other far side and pop it, and you form this tight, which is called a braid. And the beginning of mine didn't really go very well. So you're trying to get a tighter braid or plait as possible. So you just continue until there's nothing left. Then you kind of pinch them together at the base and then tuck that tail under. Then we need to go back and do that at the other end. So the end of mine didn't really look that pretty, so I'm going to hide it, tuck it under. And then we need to grab some plastic wrap with a little bit of oil on it and then place it over that and let it rest for 30 minutes. So I've got my piece of plastic wrap here, and you can do it with a wet cloth, but I find that the cloth sticks to the dough. So I've just got the oiled plastic here, pop that on top of the dough. And I'm going to pop my timer on for 30 minutes, and this is the second rise. And now's a good time to turn your oven on to get it heated up. We're just doing it on quite a low oven. It's 170 with a fan. And so I'll pop that on now. And I'll pop some other measurements up above here for Fahrenheit. Let the oven heat up, we'll let that rest, and then we'll come back for the next step. So now it's time to bake. So our dough has risen a little bit more. So let's remove that plastic. And I've got my egg here that I've just beaten up, and I'm just going to brush it lightly on the top and on the sides of the dough. Just be careful not to dig into it. My bread down here has gone a bit fatter, but it'll bake fine. And we're doing home baking, so it doesn't have to be perfect like a bakery. Now I'm going to add, I've got about a tablespoon of sesame seeds. I'm just going to sprinkle that all over the top. These are the untoasted seeds. I'm going to bake this on my lower third rack in the oven for about 30 minutes, but I'll keep an eye on it about 25 minutes. So we're back with our bread and it's all baked. Look at that, doesn't it look fabulous? It's still quite warm, so I don't want to disturb it. It needs to cool a little bit more. It's only been out of the oven 10 minutes. Could I open it up? I'm not going to. I'm going to just leave it like that. So that's my spelt braided bread. Give it a go at home. It's so light and fluffy on the inside. We just love it. It's such an easy bread just to have, and you can slice it for breakfast, and it was even great on sandwiches. And let me know in the comments below if you give this a go. And Mr. Rex, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's not as complicated as you might think. Mine's not perfect, but let me know if you give it a go. Hit the thumbs up, share this recipe with a friend, and don't forget, I'll pop a few other recipes up above. If you haven't tried my spelt buns yet, they are really great. Great for hamburgers or just sandwiches. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.